Quick disclaimer, nothing in this episode constitutes legal advice. This is for educational and informational purposes only.
Peace and prosperity.
Hola, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing amazing. I want to thank you for coming on. Thank you
Oh,
for
sure thing.
responding to my DM,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. No problem whatsoever. I'm glad you reached out to me.
Absolutely. The stuff you talk about on YouTube, like I've been watching your videos, is all very related to like my personal situation. So it's
Uh-huh.
just like a lot of the stuff that you're talking about is just like enlightening me on like where to look or where to like start because I've realized it's really do for self. Like you can't really, there's no template for this stuff.
Mm-mm.
So
It
you
ain't.
have to like take it by your situation and go from there?
Yes, ma'am. Indeed. Indeed.
So, before we officially start the episode, do you have any questions for me? My name is Khadijah LaShawn, and I am the Black guidance counselor that my community needs. I'm a strategic investor and CEO. I make money in my sleep, and I teach others how to do the same. I share my knowledge, talents, and resources with others. So, if you're in need of that motivation or courage to start following your own path, look no further. My intention is to share as much value with you all as possible and to show you that there are many different paths to happiness and many different paths to wealth. You just have to find the one that's right for you. Hello, everyone. My name is Khadijah LaShawn, also known as your Black Guidance Counselor, and this is the Black Creator Podcast. Today, I have a very special guest with me today. His name is Bryan. He represents the business called Stand Strong on YouTube and Instagram. I found him on my personal consumer journey. So I would love to hear more about his story as an entrepreneur, the kinds of things that he's done in his business, and all that jazz. So, really quickly, Bryan, could you let me know who you are and what does Stand Strong mean?
Okay, my name is Bryan Eromaye to be exact. And by my father's from Nigeria, so that's where the name comes from. And in I guess you would say English, it means stand strong. So that's where the name Stand Strong comes from. And I use that name in pretty much the majority of my businesses.
Mm,
So that's the linkage between them. And I started off as a journeyman electrician here in Dallas, building hospitals for the past 15 years around the area, including South. And I even did a casino up north in Oklahoma. And that's what I mainly done here in Dallas. And then about 4.5 years ago, I kind of decided I needed to change of venue, so to speak. So I kind of quit my job and took a chance on myself. I got involved with real estate. I also patented technology safety device called the hot gloves for my field of electrical work.
okay.
And it just kind of started from there. I was probably like on my third or fourth business when I started to get into credit repair. And that actually got me into looking at laws. And then from there, it kind of went down a rabbit hole, and I kind of got into the understanding the mortgage fraud and beginning to work on my personal situation with mortgages of getting the properties reclaimed or reconveyed to me. And
Mm.
then I did it multiple times, and it keeps working. So I've been trying to share the information to people that we got to read.
We
Man,
do. We do.
this is
We do.
we got to read. This is
I swear.
ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. It is so sad that we don't
Yes.
because I'm just
Yes.
like I've always been a reader, like, but I'm rare, like a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
they picked up on reading out of necessity. That was
Gotcha.
something I just did because I love to do it, like that's just
Mm-hmm.
me. But, and I don't mind people looking at me and thinking I'm weird for picking up a book and reading it. Like, I'm used to it at this point. Like, it's been a
Right.
lifetime of it. So, but you're right. You're absolutely right. There's a lot I want to touch on with that. But I want to specifically talk about your Stand Strong YouTube channel and your
Uh-huh.
Instagram presence. I want to talk about that because I know you said that you have Stand Strong in like all your ventures, like that's the linkage between the different businesses that you have, but
Uh,
specifically when it comes to teaching consumerism and like the laws and just educational that stuff, like tell me more about your YouTube channel and why you made that.
Okay, well, the YouTube channel, it's kind of been going about 12 months. I didn't really put much on there because the information is so that I speak on, there's not a lot of sources of it, right? So it was
Yes.
kind of different. So I kind of hesitated putting anything out on YouTube.
Mm.
Instagram is just short, little nothing marketing more so. But when
Yeah.
you get to YouTube, people go to YouTube for information. They're going to sit there for a minute. They're
Mm-hmm.
not just clicking, scrolling, and liking there. So I was kind of hesitant on going there. But after I did the interview with another sister named Sister Khadijah on the same type of topic when I had first reconveyed one of my properties, it kind of took fire. It kind of took off pretty good on her page. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe people do want to hear this stuff.
Yes.
So since then, I
Listen.
just really just been pumping. It's been pumping and trying to give content that I was looking for when I was getting involved that I
Amen.
couldn't find. You know,
Yeah.
not only information, but actual receipts and documentation that somebody's actually doing this stuff versus just talking about it. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? So that's why I try to give a different perspective and also show what I'm actually doing, what I've done, and what I'm working on.
Exactly. And that's helpful because it's like it's all individual. Like everybody has to handle their individual situation with the individual approach. They can't just copy and paste what you did
Hmm.
and just be like, "Oh, I'm gonna get the same results." That's not how it
No,
works with
at all.
anything, honestly. So you have to do the work, but I just want to start off by saying I thank you for putting out what you did so far. Like
Hmm.
just what you did so far has helped me clarify a little bit of a somewhat of a game plan of like
Hmm.
where to continue my research before taking action steps because I think something important to highlight about you and what I've learned about your journey so far is that you took the time to research before taking steps, but also you learned from your steps. If you took
Hmm.
a misstep, it's like, okay, well, this didn't work. Let's try this.
Hmm.
Like that's the whole
Hmm.
thing is that we have to realize it's doors.
Righteous.
It's gatekeepers at these doors and not all the gatekeepers are going to say yes, but you
At
just got
all,
to
right?
find the right one. You got to find the right
Mhm.
gatekeeper and get them to say yes because once you get that yes, you in there. So
Mhm.
but okay, so now I want to talk about what you mean by mortgage. We're going to go back, okay? Let's start where the fraud originates. Let's talk about settlement and financing. Let's talk about that.
Okay.
Okay?
All
Because
right.
I feel like there's a lot of I'm going to speak from a point of view of I went through the home ownership process. I made it through financing. I purchased my
Hmm.
home. I'm
Hmm.
in the house. I've been here for 3 years. I'm speaking
Okay.
from that standpoint. I've been paying my mortgage, done forbearances and stuff like that, but like I haven't done what you've done yet,
Hmm.
but I plan to. So what
Okay.
I'm saying is let's talk about financing and how mortgage origination really
All right.
happens. And we don't
Okay.
have to we can get high level with it, okay? We don't have to tell everything. I know you, because I know some things, but I'm just
Righteous.
gonna say, let's talk high level about how a bank originates a loan,
Okay. Well,
alleged
first
loan.
process, they have you do what? An application, right?
Mm-hmm.
You fill out an application and they tell you what you qualify for based on what your work experience, right? Your income, taxes and all that good propaganda, right?
Mm-hmm.
But most importantly, what do they take from you that they claim to verify your identity?
Mm.
That social security number, right?
Mm-hmm.
How can a number verify your identity?
Wait, hold on a second. Hold on. You're
We don't
right.
even think
You're
about that
right
part.
because we're
We
natural
don't,
people.
we don't think about that part,
We
right?
don't think about
We just
that.
let them tell us anything and we just go with the flow, right? Because they know best. They got our interest in their mind. Bull crap. Okay. They need that account number.
Mm.
Okay. They want to tap into that account. And then after you give them what they ask of you, they turn around and tell you an amount that you qualify for. Let's say 300,000. They say you're approved for 300,000. So you get out excited, right? And you say, I'm finna go find me a property in that range because the bank says I'm already pre-approved for 300 grand. Well, when you sign that application, understand your signature, it's self-authenticating. Okay. So by you signing, your signature actually shows proof of something exists. We call it a signature because it's a sign of nature. So it's your
Sign
signature,
of
sign that you are
nature.
the living. Okay. So now you just approve what they gave you, not knowing that your signature released all the funds needed. So therefore, you were the original creditor.
Amen.
They're acting as creditor slash lender to you of
Amen.
your own funds from your account.
Mm-hmm.
All right, but that's just background. Let's say we don't know all of that, right? So we just continue to move forward and we go find us a property. Well, let's say you find you a property, somebody's selling for under 300,000. Let's say they're selling for 200,000, right? You, hey, I'm approved for 300, but this is less than that, so I'm good to go. Well, when it comes time to close, you're gonna have a stack load of documents to sign.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that part?
On the day. You have to
On the
sign it on
day,
the day. No
day of
72
closing.
hours, no nothing. You
No, no
sign it
more
on the day.
3
You don't
hours to
even
go sit
see
back
it.
and think about it. None of that.
You
They're
don't
gonna
even,
have it already sticky noted for you. Sign here, sign here, sign here.
and if you take too long, they rush you.
Right. They driving you off emotion. You're a homeowner.
Here's the
Congratulations. Right.
keys.
Now let's peep to see what's going on. Typically, you're called into the title office. Okay. Who's there?
I
Who do you
know.
have this agreement with? You've been signing papers back and forth with a mortgage lender. What is their name? Who are these people? All right. This is a contract. These are documents for signing. So, whenever you're entering a contract, the parties involved, first and foremost, need to be there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, with the parties being there, let's say you have the mortgage lender, right? You have the person, let's say the seller, who's ever selling the property, and then
Mm-hmm.
you're the buyer. Okay. Now, when we sign these documents, there has to be some type of proof of what's going on. So the first document that's typically signed is what's called the warranty deed or some type of deed. What is a deed? Anything you hear the term deed, you have to understand that that is pertaining to real property. This is a deed. The deed is a record of conveyance, which means transferring ownership. Okay, so the warranty deed is the first document that we have. If you look at your warranty deed, you have two parties to this document.
Mm-hmm.
You have the grantor, and then you have the grantee. The difference between these two parties is one is giving or conveying. That's the one that ends in OR. Then you have the one that's receiving. That ends in EE. Okay. Now, this grantor is making a statement. They're making an acknowledgement. This is pretty much a testimony of what they're doing right now at this present moment of this signing of this document. And they're giving something.
Hmm.
They're giving something away to somebody else.
A
And
piece of
they're
paper.
telling you that there's no liens, there's no type of encumbrances, nobody's after me. This property is free and clear, and I'm giving it over to you. Okay. Now, any contractual obligation, there's elements of a contract that has to be there for it to be a contract. One, there has to be offer and acceptance. Somebody's giving something and somebody's receiving something. Okay. There has to be something of value in exchange to make it legit. So, on these warranty deeds, typically, from what I've seen, the value given in consideration is anywhere from $1 to $10.
Hmm.
Okay. Now, the grantor is telling a story in this document. They're telling you what time, when, where, and how this transaction was made. And it was accepted on their part as the grantor, because they're telling you what they received. Now they're letting everybody know, since I received this value and consideration, I'm giving up this to this person.
Mm.
That person is the grantee.
Mm-hmm.
Now, also outside of this document, now they typically sign it. A notary verifies them signing, right? I ask them for their ID to prove their identity,
Mm-hmm.
and then they sign. The notary signs below them. Now, what's typically missing in this document is the person receiving the document, which is you, the home buyer. Okay. Now, for a document to be complete, there has to be some acknowledgement of your acceptance of what was given to you. If there's no acknowledgement of your acceptance, no one has the way of knowing that you accepted what this grantor gave to you. And if the grantor shall pass and die and go away, technically, by documentation, there is no record of acceptance of what was given.
Mm.
So it's not technically a complete contract. It's an offer to make contract, but there's no history of documentation of that offer being accepted.
Okay, so you done went into so much stuff and I understood exactly what you said. Just because I have a background in real estate, I know about contracts, I know about agreements, and I've also been watching your YouTube videos. But so I'm just saying, before we get too much deeper into it, okay, so you're explaining that settlement, there's a conveyance of the property. I'm gonna restate what you said, and if I say anything wrong, you tell me, just so that audience understands and is up to date with what you said, because you said a lot of really important information just now, okay? So you said there's a first document, it's between the buyer and the seller. There's a notary who signs the, like, to witness that these two people signed it, but the notary's not
Mhm.
actually, they don't have any controller. They're just witnessing. That's what they're just a witness. But it's a deed. It's a deed for real property. It shows a record of conveyance, of transferring of ownership. There's a grantor who is the seller. They are giving or conveying the property to the grantee, which is you, the buyer, who is receiving the property. But because it's only one document, because hold on. Because there's no acknowledgement of acceptance, it's only an offer. That's it. There's no
Mhm.
acknowledgement of, because basically all contracts need to have an offer and acceptance. It can't just be an offer. So the offer was them to give you to convey the house to you. But you didn't
Mhm.
accept the offer. You took the house, you
Mhm.
possessed the house, but
Mhm.
as the person, as the natural person, you possess the
Mhm.
house. But until you put it in the records that you accepted their offer,
Mhm.
you don't really, you're not really
Technically
the
own the
owner.
property.
You don't own
Righteous.
the property.
Righteous.
Okay. And because you own the property, your signature should be on all, once you do get the acknowledgments acceptance, your signature should also be on any deeds of trust after later on, right? Like,
You went to a whole new document. We ain't got to that
you're
document yet.
right,
You
you're
jumping the
right.
gun. We
I'm,
just on
I'm
the
so
warranty deed.
I'm so
Each
ready.
document is different and serves a different purpose. We don't know this at closing. We think it's all one. No,
Mm-mm,
no, 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 no.
mm-mm. You're
This
right.
is the two separate transactions mainly happening right here.
Mm-hmm.
One just involves you and the seller. It has nothing to do with the lender.
Interesting.
And this is why, because when we understand what's going on in the documents, then you really understand the fraud. But when you don't understand what's going on, you can't see the fraud because you think it's all one transaction and it's not.
Mm,
So that warranty deed, by definition, is stating what happens when you go to Walmart. When you go to Walmart, you purchase something, you leave with what? A receipt, which is your proof of purchase. That's what the warranty deed is. That's your proof of purchase of the property.
mm-hmm.
Without that document, you are no good to the lender
Mm,
because you're not the owner, right? That's just like me showing up to somebody, my neighbor's home, and telling the bank to meet me at my neighbor's house. I'm going to put my neighbors up for a loan for collateral. I can't put up collateral that I don't own.
mm-hmm.
So
But the
that's
lender
proof that
doesn't
you
own it
already owned the
either.
property before the bank got involved.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody can counter that. The only person that can counter that would be the person that gave you the home. You got a testimony, an acknowledged statement signed by a notary
Mm-hmm.
of what transpired that day. So, if anything, the notary could also be called in as a witness to state who was present and who was not present on
Mm-hmm.
that day.
Amen.
Okay. Now we're done with the warranty deed, besides the fact you never accepted it. So that's what I tell people to do. First, go accept your property. Before we get in details of a contract, you got to make sure you're in a position to speak on it. You're not even the owner. Why am I going to argue about details? You're not the owner. We can be challenged.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's the point of the county records. The county record shows as a bulletin board. What's done in the private goes to the county records if it wants to be for the public to see.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to put deeds at the public records office. You don't have to. I can sell property and keep the deeds in my pocket all day long. I only need to bring proof of the deed when there's a conflict,
Yeah.
there's a controversy, to
When
prove that
there's
I'm the owner.
when there's an alleged debt.
Well, it didn't have to be a debt. It could be something with the title. Somebody could be claiming that that they have did some work. It could be anything, right? That people
Mm-hmm.
put liens on other people's stuff for
True.
no reason, thinking that they live with, or that's his relative. I'll get their attention. So it's just a fact that as long as there's no controversy, that there's no need for a deed to be viewed.
Hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
So now we've talked about the warranty deed. Warranty deed is a what? Proof of purchase. Okay. So now, depending on what state you're in, there's judicial and non-judicial. Some states have mortgages, some just have deeds of trust, and some even have just a deed. They're all
Me.
the same. They just change titles and the number of parties involved slightly different. It either be three or it's two. So I like to always go with deed of trust because it's easier to make sense. And then
Mm-hmm.
anything less than that, you already got it. All right.
Okay. Before
So
you get started, can you say really quickly what you mean by non-judicial or judicial?
good. Non-judicial versus judicial just means whether they can take your home secretly without going to court, or they actually have to have a court order to take your home in foreclosure.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
typically, if you have a
okay.
deed of trust, it's understood that it's a non-judicial state, meaning they use the deed of trust so they don't have to go through court. Now, a trust, when we say trust, we have to understand what trust is because we kind of changes categories because we kind of move into trust law. Okay. They're all involved contracts. America's built around contracts. The first contract any of us is held liable to is the birth certificate. So, yes, your government contracts with infants.
Hmm.
How can an infant sign a contract? There's a baby
Mm.
act that states that a baby cannot enter into a contract.
You're right.
So, your government violated that act.
They're in minority.
Hmm. Well, let's keep moving on. So, understanding that there's part of an element of a contract once again. Person signing has to be of sound mind,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and the age of majority, able to speak up on their own, okay, and make these types of decisions. So in a trust, you typically have three parts to a trust, okay? Now, I'm going to compare this to the warranty deed as well, because in a trust, you have what's called a grantor or trustor. Notice they end in the OR. Now, the
Mm-hmm.
trustor is the person entrusting something. The grantor is also the person in the trust is granting something to someone else. That's why that first position has a dual meaning.
Can you
Now,
say that one more time? What did you say?
the grantor and
Mm-hmm.
the trustor
And you said
to
it
the
has
trust,
double
a
meaning?
dual meaning, because the trust is the person entrusting. That's the one creating the trust.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, he's the grantor because in this trust, he's granting responsibility to someone else, which is a fiduciary that we refer to as the trustee.
Mm.
Okay, just like we said before with the grantor and the grantee. Now we have a trustor and a trustee. Same relationship to a grantor and a grantee. Okay. Now the trustor is entrusting something on behalf of someone else, which is the beneficiary, which is the third person. So we have three parties to a trust. We have the grantor slash trustor, we have the trustee, and we have the beneficiary. Now, there's another part or position that the trustor or grantor can play, and that's also called the settler. As long as he's alive, he can settle the affairs of the trust. He's the
Mm.
settler.
Okay.
Okay. Now that's going to come back into play later.
Who can settle? The
The
grantor?
grantor or trustor, the one that has all the power. The grantor is the most important person in any document. As long as
Okay.
they're living, they have all control. Now they relinquish some control to a fiduciary, but in the event that fiduciary violates or acts outside the guidance of they can be fired. Okay. There's a maximum law that states notice to agent is notice to principal. Notice to principal is notice to agent. In the event that the agent acts outside of the acts or commands of the principal, the agent can be held liable. Okay, so these corporations, they have agents. Corporation is not real. So they have agents that act on behalf of the corporation. Root road of corporation is corp, which is dead, death. They're dead.
Corpse.
Okay? They're dead people.
Mm-hmm.
Dead people have no rights over the living. Footnote. Okay. So in these three positions, you have to understand who the positions are and what their roles are. The beneficiary don't have no role. Beneficiaries are trust fund babies. They just benefit from what was entrusted for them.
Mm.
The trustee is the babysitter. It's like when we have children, we have a babysitter. We get that's a trust that we're forming with the babysitter and the children. The children are the beneficiaries. The babysitter is the trustee. The parents are the grantors or trustors.
Amen. But we don't know none of that. That's
This
never
is this
disclosed to us.
No, because you're conditioned to move as a certain way in life, and that's to be as a consumer or as a servant or as a slave. He
Mm-hmm.
who does not know his rights doesn't have any. The
Mm.
best slaves are the ones that don't know they're slaves. Anytime anybody works without being paid, that's called slavery. That's why taxes are illegal and goes against the Constitution.
You get
You
into
cannot be
something
taxed on
else.
your labor.
You get
Okay.
Yo, you giving them too much information.
I'm
It's
just
too much
saying it
too
all ties
fast.
in together.
They can't handle it,
And we
okay?
can't understand if we don't see it
They
all.
still stuck on the deed part, you
I
understand?
know, but I'm just saying I gotta throw it all out there
You
because
do
it
have
all
to.
is hand in
And
hand.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it because it's necessary. They're gonna have to listen
Righteous.
to this episode 10 times, 20 times. They're like, he said what? Wait, what did he say about taxes? Where he get this from? What did you read this? Where did you read? But no, here's the thing, we don't read. So because you and I know and we read, we know there's actual laws that say
Right,
this. There's
right.
actual codes of regulation that are written to protect
See,
us.
and this is what we don't know. Everything is contracts. The
Mm-hmm.
Constitution is the contract. It's the contract of the land.
Mm.
Everything's about contracts in America. It's all about consent. That's why if you know what's going on, you must speak out and rebut, or
Exactly.
not saying anything. You consent, and it's biblical because they said there's three levels of faith, right? And they said the first level of faith is to see a wrong and you just can't do nothing with it, so you hate it in your heart.
Mm.
The second level of faith is to see a wrong and you try to stop it with your voice.
Speak out.
Okay. And then the highest level is when you see that wrong, you actually get active and you try to stop it with your hands.
Amen.
And they say that's the highest level.
It is.
Okay. So it goes back to if we see something and we're not doing nothing about it, we're consenting. And
We're
in law,
being
they calls it
slaves.
tacit acquiescence. You failure to rebut it. So you agree to it. And that's what we have to look at everything we do in commerce in America because by default, we are born into what's called commerce. And commerce involves contracts. So we have to know what we are consenting to. That's where the truth in lending and all these acts, anytime you hear an act, that's an action for you to take. The Congress is giving you a remedy. But if you don't read the act, you don't know what action to do.
Yeah.
Because that's where your remedies come through.
Mm-hmm.
Privacy Act.
Amen.
You have the right to be private.
Amen.
But the credit reporting people tell you is public information. Come on,
Mm-mm.
people, because you're
Mm-mm.
not reading the laws that regulate them, right?
Because even the
So
employees don't know the laws. Like
no,
none of the
they're
employees
just working
anywhere.
in positions. They're acting in the capacity of something else.
It's the
All right.
enemy.
So now we've established the fiduciary responsibility in a trust. So this is what happens. So now you're in this mortgage with these people. They need you to come in as the grantor in this deed of trust because you have something that they want, even though they're making it appear as if they have something you want, which is a loan. Okay. Now, if I call you sister and I say, look, sister, I'm in a bind.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I need some liquid capital. Loan me 300. I'm gonna loan you my pistol that's worth 600. My pistol becomes the collateral for what? The loan you're gonna give me. Same thing with the bank. We just went to the bank and told the bank, hey, look, we got this house we just got for $1 or $10 from a partner over there. We're gonna give it to you as collateral. But I need that 200,000. Let me get that 200,000 you told me I was approved for. You can use this house as collateral. But what happens? We never received the 200,000. The
Mm.
proof we didn't receive 200,000 is you didn't get no check. There's no type of documentation that 200,000 left that bank and came to you. Now, somebody quick, well, hold on now. We got this house. I just told you the house was collateral. But even if you want to think that the house was given to you, read your receipt. How much was the house given to you for? It says $1 or 10. So where's the other $199,000?
Mm-hmm. Where's the rest of the
Right?
money? So you said something about how you need some finesse, right? You need to go about it with experience. You need a mentor, you need an advocate,
Mm-hmm.
someone to help you maneuver these situations. So how does someone employ you as someone who can give them like consulting or just educational, informational things, not legal advice?
Well, first they follow me on social media.
Okay.
Okay, which is the Instagram and most importantly YouTube, because that's where you're gonna get the time. And then outside that is booking consultations. I do have a private group and two more private groups that I'm starting. The first private group is free, but the next two will be a cost to admission, and they're based on courses that I have and I'm dropping. Okay, the first one is credit. I start with credit because that's the foundation. If you
Amen.
can't get beyond that, we really can't go nowhere else because it starts there. So I typically offer a free ebook upon joining my Facebook group. In that group, I just drop a lot of free information, content, jewels, actionable steps, results, things of that nature. And then we take it up a course. From there, we go to the 3X Credit Accelerator. So now that you've established credit and learned how credit works, we learn how to use it as leverage to create assets and an extra source of revenue that we can live off of. Okay. Now that we've acquired these things, and the next level is the life after debt, is which is where now I show you where all this stuff is free. You're not entitled, you're not obligated to pay none of this stuff. It's all free. It's through your credit. And then we start taking those steps to invoke your credit to understand the power of asset protection and then just establishing things for the next generations to come.
Okay. Okay, so you have one-on-one consultations and then you also have
Mm-hmm.
your e-courses and your Facebook group. So
Gotcha.
anybody listening, if Bryan's word today resonated with you and you're interested in a mortgage conveyance, reconveyance, you're interested in repossession, getting advice, not advice, getting information and
From prior
education.
experience of someone who's already went through it is going through it.
Exactly, exactly. Firsthand experience. If you want that, you can book Bryan. Stand strong on Instagram. I'm gonna put the stuff in the description. Um, and then just as somebody just getting started on their consumerism journey and just kind of like dipping their foot in the water a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
what kind of books would you recommend that people read as an introduction? Not like anything you sell, but like just an advice recommendation.
Maybe anything talking about the straw man. There's a few, small consumer law books, commercial law books. You can get a lot of free stuff online, especially with the consumer stuff. You can just download the PDFs. I would more importantly suggest people to read case laws or laws dealing with various topics of consumer act so you can see how it's applied.
Mm,
That'd be the biggest part. Because a lot of times we hear stuff, we just read it for face value, but we got to see a case in which somebody brought this up so they can see how it was accepted or rejected. So you can learn from previous people's mistakes and errors. Because even what I'm coming with right now, no, I ain't seen nobody with the angle that I'm coming at. And it's just so simple. And I'm just using strictly definitions of the words of the contracts used. Either the information is disclosed or it's not disclosed. If
hmm.
it's not disclosed, that's a problem because under consumer credit protection as well as truth in lending, we have the right to clear, accurate disclosure. Just that simple.
Conspicuous. It has to be clear.
Inconspicuous. Yes, it has to be
Inconspicuous?
clear. It has to be clear. Unambiguous.
Yes, I got you. I got you.
It can't be
Okay.
no gray area. All right. Anything that could mean two things, we need to know which one it actually means.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. And then you already told us how we can contact you. So the last thing I want to ask you is what is a quote that has stayed with you when you've gone through these rejections, these denials, these doors closing on you? What is
Oh,
something that sticks with
one of the
you?
maxims of law that the first one that leaves the battlefield loses the war.
Say it one more time.
The first one to leave the battlefield loses the war.
Mm, I
So
like
don't
that.
quit. The
Don't quit.
marathon continues.
Amen. Amen. Amen to that. Thank you, Bryan, for coming on. Thank you for
Alrighty.
giving the
Thank you for
good
reaching out.
word. I appreciate you. I am going to keep you updated throughout my production process. But
Alrighty.
I appreciate you, Bryan. I will keep in touch with you, okay?
All right. Peace and prosperity.
You too. Bye.
All right. Bye bye.